Welcome, everyone, to Tim's Final Confessions. Thank you for watching. And once again, I'm joined by my good friend, Jim Benner. Jim, how are you doing?
Hey, good morning. Well, it's morning here. I'm doing great. Tim. How are you?
Good. Jim and I have done a few episodes now, and inevitably, I think every single episode we've done, somehow we've talked about Toto for one reason or another. And so fittingly, on this episode, Jim and I are going to talk about the latest Toto album.
Yeah.
Technically, if you're reading the sleeve, it's the newest from Steve Lukather, and it's called Bridges. And to me, and I think Jim agrees with me, this is a Toto album in all but name, because
for sure,
the personnel, songwriting, the sound of the album. I mean, this is a logical follow-up to Toto 14. I think a lot of these songs sound like they could have fit on the what was it called, Old is New. CD came with the box set. I mean, it's a modern day Toto album, but for some reason, and I think I can guess why, they can't call it Toto. I'm not really sure, Jim, and you know, the purpose of this is not to dig up, you know, dirty laundry, but I'm guessing that something went sour with Steve Porcaro and then Lukather and Page. Like, something went down at the end of that last tour, and
maybe so, which is too bad, really, because Toto's put out some fantastic music over the years since when their first album came out in like 1978. Put out some great music. So hopefully, if something did happen, hopefully they can reconcile it. And
I'm guessing too that's part of the reason that anyone that's listened to the With a Little Help from My Friends live album that they did during quarantine, you know, Luke doesn't mince words. He says something about, you know, now that we've had to pay you all that effing money. So it's weird. It's like they're able to tour as Toto, so he and Joseph Williams and the band as it is now, but
great band.
Can't put the name on the album. It's very strange. And you know, Steve's a funny guy. I mean, he's a funny guy. I really enjoy his interviews, and it would be just like him to do something in this artwork, which I happen to think is pretty cool, where if you like look back or lean a certain way, it would actually say Toto, but it doesn't.
This artwork, all of this artwork on the album is just incredible. Absolutely amazing.
Should shout that out. It says art album design Doug Brown.
Yeah, look at that. That's amazing.
I mean, to me, that's a classic. You know, it's classic. Like in the same style as we've talked a lot about Hugh Syme, of course. He has a different picture for each song, and every single one of them could have made their own album cover, like Snakes and Arrows, for example.
For sure.
And it doesn't look like Hugh Syme artwork. I'm just saying, like, it's not a front and back cover. There's lots of this, you know.
It definitely has that vibe to me of Hugh Syme.
I mean, stuff like, I mean, that's
geez,
sort of surreal feeling to it, right? Of course, the background, Steve himself.
Steve.
And here's he's just so cool, man. But the reason that we talk, you know, one of the main reasons we talk about this is the personnel on this album. So it's Steve, his son Trevor, Lukather, Joseph Williams, you know.
Love Joe.
David Page, I mean, his bandmate since the beginning of Toto, the guy that wrote so many of those classic songs. Simon Phillips, the monster Simon Phillips, who was in Toto for many years.
For what, 23, 25? Something like that. Somebody will have to correct me.
And obviously, no bad blood there, because here he is, right? Here he is on the album. You know, Leland Sklar, I mean,
Sklar's
famous
amazing
session bass player, and he actually was in Toto when Mike Porcaro became too sick to perform live. Shannon Forrest. So Shannon Forrest was on Toto 14 and just was amazingly good. Now, the only names that I don't recognize...
which ones did you not recognize?
the last two, Jorgen Carlson and Steve Maggiora.
Well, okay, so Steve Majoro, he's the one of the current keyboardists in the new Toto band.
Okay.
So it's Dominic Xavier X. He plays more of the synth parts, I think, and then Steve plays more of like the piano type of parts. Yeah. But the other guy, I did not recognize his name. So he was the only one I was not familiar with.
And so the songwriting too, it's all sort of in-house, and when it's not in-house, it's familiar names. So
for sure.
Let's get into the album. It's only an 8-song album. It doesn't feel like a short album though. It just feels like a good length for an album.
Yep.
It's not stretching the limits of CD technology. You listen to it and you think that was great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So first track, Far From Over. Fairly straightforward lyrically. I mean, it's pretty autobiographical. I think that Steve saying to anyone who might doubt that he can still make good music.
Yeah, for sure.
And this song was written, so it's written by Trevor Lukather, Steve Lukather, and Joseph Williams. You got, so Simon Phillips playing drums on this one. Joseph Williams, you can hear him on the background vocals. The song kind of speaks for itself. It's a good opener.
Yeah. It is. I think it's a great opener for this album. Like if I, listen to the album as a whole, this is a great song they put at the beginning. And I think like you mentioned, just the message from it that he can still make music. I think that's perfect. Of course, being a drummer, I always listen intently to that. And Simon's playing is just outstanding. His playing is always outstanding on everything that he's done. And, I hear some very typical, like, I call them Simonisms, like typical fills and stuff that he does in there. So he's got a style there, but he always plays to the music.
Yeah, plays for the song. Yeah, there's no overplay. Next song's really, really interesting. It's a pretty biting song lyrically. It's called Not My Kind of People. So this one, this is Steve Lukather, David Page, Joseph Williams, and Stan Lynch. Stan Lynch was the drummer for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. He went on to become very well-known songwriter in his own right. He's written with the Eagles. And I guess he supplied the lyrics to this song. And what I like about it is if you read the lyrics, they're very, very biting and dark. And, there's an F-bomb dropped in there. But when the way that Steve sings it, if you're not paying attention, you can't, they don't really hit. He's not like the shouted, right? He still sings in that smooth style. But this is, I'm not sure who. I'm getting the impression this isn't directed at any one person. It's just directed in general at people that have, unless his the persona that he projects whenever you've seen interviews with him is completely different than how he really is. Steve's always struck me as a pretty easygoing guy, but you get but you do him wrong, and he's not going to forget it. And that's this song right here, and it's a rocker. I mean, it is. And the thing is, like, it's awesome. When I say it's a rocker, it's a Toto rocker. Mm-hmm. You've got the lush background vocals, you've got the percussion. Yeah, it just sounds like Toto. Like, I know that he's got all the leads on here. It would have been cool if David Page or Joseph Williams had sung one of the songs, but Steve sang everything on Kingdom of Desire. Yep. And pretty much sang all of Tamboo except for the background vocalist on a couple songs. So he's perfectly capable of leading the album as the lead singer. I've always liked, a lot of people talk about his guitar playing. I don't think he gets enough credit for being a good vocalist. Like, he's not just, a guitar player that sings. He's got a good voice in his own. He does. It occupies that main, that midpoint. He doesn't have the high tenor voice. That's why they always have the Joseph Williams or the Bobby Kimballs. But but he's not a baritone either. Like, it always just really fits the material. And his guitar playing, as always, perfect for the song. Yep. Chops galore for days. He can't help but pick up a guitar and make it sound great. And
oh, for sure. Yeah. I think this is my favorite track on the entire record.
It's one of mine.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, how it starts. As soon as I heard the starting, the very first time I listened to it, I was like, wait a minute, that reminds me of something. So I went back to the Toto catalog, and I had to write it down because I would forget. So it kind of reminds me of the beginning of Wings of Time from the Toto 35th anniversary live in Poland, from that recording, or How Many Times from Kingdom of Desire. And it's just the starting of that. It was kind of like, oh, whoa, wow. And I thought that was great because I love both of those songs and everything. I love that it was the Falling in Between live rhythm section of Sklar and Phillips. What a great rhythm section. And like you mentioned, like Luke solo in this tune is just fantastic.
Yeah,
it's excellent, man.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, and I think personally, listening to this album is closest to Kingdom of Desire as far as to compare it directly to a Toto album.
Yes.
Partially because it's Steve singing all the songs, but just it's a tougher sounding. There isn't anything particularly really light on here, and that's one of the things I like about Toto is that variety. But I think with Steve being the guy calling the shots as his name on the album cover, he's like, guys, I want to make it lush and lots of keys on it, lots of background vocals, but I want to make a rock record.
Yeah.
So the next one of my favorite songs on here, and could totally be a Toto song. It's written by Steve Lukather, Joseph Williams, David Page. It's all Toto personnel on here. It's called Someone. This is one of my favorite songs. I mean, in olden times, I would have listened to this album and said, "There's your single right there. That's your first single."
Yeah.
It's very catchy. I mean, so you got Luke on guitar. He plays the bass on this one, vocals. Joseph Williams on keys, background vocals, percussion. Shannon Forrest on drums, and David Page on keys. I mean, that's a version of Toto. I mean, you can't deny that, right? So
yeah, that was the 40th anniversary version minus a few people.
Yeah.
This, and what I thought on this song, it's very, very deceptive. Like a first listen, if you're just kind of partially listening to it, you think, oh, this is pretty straightforward, kind of almost simple. You listen to it more and it's so lush, right? So having Joe and Page play those keyboards together, it just adds so much lushness to it. There's so much going on. And and the guitar solo, that's right. The guitar solo is stripped down. So you've got all of these keys and you have some overlapping vocals, things like that going through the tune, but you hit the guitar solo and it kind of sounds like it's bass, drums, and guitar. And they did that. And I love that. Another one of my favorite bands, Rush, does that when they do a lot of their key stuff. When it gets to the guitar solo, it's just guitar, bass, drums. And I think that's such a great change from the rest of the tune. And
it's dynamics. It's a sense of dynamics. And that's something that's, I'm going to sound like an old guy here, but that's something that's lost in modern music because it's all the same. The way the song starts is the way the song ends.
Yeah, I love it when the songs kind of go up and down, like dynamic wise. They'll even sort of breathe a little bit tempo wise. Like you listen to the old classics, they're not like to a rigid click. They're not on a grid, right? They're breathing and moving. And Shannon's playing on this. He's just so tasteful.
Yeah. And it's like you mentioned, having two keyboard players on it. That's so crucial to for those first 6 Toto albums, you had David Page and you had Steve Porcaro. So, you'd have Page playing like an electric piano. Well, not maybe an electric piano, but, one certain synth sound, maybe a bassy sound. And then Steve Porcaro would do like the tinkly stuff on top of it. And, think of Rosanna. Like that's just, you can't do, one guy can't do that live. That's without electronic help. So
exactly.
The next one, track 4, All Forevers Must End. Really nice ballad. Written by Steve Lukather and Randy Goodrum. That's a name that people might recognize. Those two also were responsible for a song called I'll Be Over You. Randy Goodrum co-wrote Foolish Heart with Steve Perry. I mean, you see his name attached to a lot of big songs. So this is like a really kind of laid back ballad. not light, and
No.
it's not exactly it's not exactly a happy song lyrically, but really, really good. And again,
Yeah.
but here you're mixing up the rhythm section because you get Lee Sklar on bass and Shannon Forrest on drums, and then you get Luke
Yeah.
and Joseph Williams on it. So again, you got Toto alumni.
Yeah. Yeah,
What are your
for sure.
thoughts on this one, Jim?
Well, one thing I really love about ballads, ones that, especially the ones that Luke has written and sang on. Like if you think about a ballad like How Does It Feel from the
Oh, yeah.
Isolation album, right?
Yeah.
There is an aggressiveness to the ballad without it sounding harsh.
Right.
And Luke has such a great way of getting the command of that happening. That's one thing that really stood out with me for this. So, it's not kind of a ballad that you're like, oh, it's one that it is a ballad, but I mean, you can sort of like really rock it kind of in a way, right?
Yeah,
very much so. And Luke and Joe's voice together, man,
yeah,
it's a thing of beauty, I think.
Yeah. And Steve's really good at delivering those types of ballads. Like, how does it feel? I mean, why wasn't that a hit single? And
oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Two Hearts from Kingdom of Desire. That's a great one. The Other Side is a great one.
Yeah.
I Will Remember. Wow, what a powerful song.
Yeah. And that was a single.
Yeah, there's a really weird video for it. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's
wow,
that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Oh,
it's like people go in, they plug into these like memory machines or something. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, very bizarre in the video.
But what a great song. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So now I guess this would be starting off side two. Another one this might be my favorite song of the album, When I See You Again. To me, this is so quintessentially Toto. There's that like that is so Toto. That is and you could clearly hear Joe Williams on that part. But either whether it's vocal or guitar, that little motif, that that has popped up so many times. If you think of one of our mutual favorite albums, the seventh one, Home of the Brave.
Yes.
Steve goes, and Afraid of Love from Toto for the middle of that, like that sort of pattern. That's obviously something that just comes naturally to him.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, like this would have been another song that I would have picked as a single. And this is, like I said, of all the songs on here, they're all Toto-ish type song. This one practically reeks of Toto.
Oh yeah, I even wrote down this and I underlined sounds like it could be one on a Toto record, right? And I mean, even just looking who wrote it, right? Like you mentioned, right? You got Steve, Joe, David Page, and Stan Lynch. And Stan Lynch, I was kind of looking back to see what else did he write for Toto. He helped to write Kick Down the Walls from Kingdom of Desire.
There you go. Yeah. Again, there's another link back to that album, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And Stan, I don't know if people know him more for his drumming or for his songwriting, but from his drumming perspective, man, wow. He was so good, had such a great feel, kind of that, swampy, laid back kind of feel. Very hard to duplicate that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but all of that classic, I mean, as many times as everybody's heard all of that, those classic Tom Petty songs, you put another drummer on there. His, like a song like, just a quick example, like Don't Do Me Like That. I mean, it really feels that most drummers would think to do, but he had, and he didn't play to a grid. He kind of played behind the beat a little bit, or maybe he forced the beat a little bit. Yeah. So, maybe he writes in the same way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the background vocals on this are pretty amazing because in the I'm kind of calling it the pre-chorus, I guess. Yeah. Light One Up Here and Now, Still Alive, Some Way, Somehow, right? That part, right? The first pre-chorus, you just basically got Luke singing. You hit the second pre-chorus and Joe is laying down some background vocals on that. And it sounds so cool. It kind of reminds me a tiny bit of a way of I didn't write this down, so I have to do it from the top of my head.
What album are we thinking?
Well, I'm thinking Falling in Between live, and it was on Falling in Between. See, this is what happens when you get old, folks.
Yeah. Sadly, I'm not as familiar with that album as I should be.
Oh, I'll get it. Here, it's right here. Bottom of Your Soul.
Okay, yeah, the single from.
Yeah, so there's at the end, there's a lot of layered vocals, and just kind of the way Joe layers the vocals on that sort of reminds me, of that. And the bridge at about 2 minutes 50 seconds in is great. I mean, I wrote down here last chorus, Joe is fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, what can you say, right? He's so good.
And when you mentioned the bridge too, that's another good thing, and that's another thing these guys are so good at. It's not just, hey, I've got a great idea for a chorus.
Yeah.
Let's just make sure we get to the chorus. They pay attention to all the parts of the songs. They pay attention let's keep the interest going throughout the song, right? And another thing I just noticed, you and I, we've talked about Rush many, many times on Rush Fans. Did you catch the saddest words ever heard? Does that not remind you of what song is it on Snakes and Arrows?
Is it
the saddest words you ever something? It's very close to that.
Yeah.
Ryan's sitting there going, "You old guys, you don't know this. I can't believe this." Our buddy Ryan Murphy.
Yeah.
Good News First from that song.
Yes, I think it was Good News First.
Yeah. So there's a lyrical passage it's kind of made me think of that. Moving on. The next one's interesting.
Yeah.
Take My Love. This is a bluesy ballad, and
yes.
So it's got Steve Majora, who you say is currently in.
Yep.
Now, and it's co-written with it must be his actual name, Warren Mordaunt Huar, which is
now
Warren Hewart, who has a YouTube channel called Produce Like a Pro. I've watched many of his episodes. He's worked with a lot of different bands. That's him co-writing the song, which is really interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I found it fascinating and very cool that there's a song here that Luke did not contribute the writing to.
Yeah. But it's still got Toto personnel on it. It's got Shannon Forrest and Joseph Williams. So but it's good. I mean, again, to me, it sounds like something that Steve could have written or co-written. His voice is perfect for it. And it almost seems to me like they came to him and said, Steve, we got a song. And I'm just guessing here. Like some artists would have said, well, let me make a few changes to it.
Right.
Just so you can stick my name on here. But,
right.
I can see him going, hey, man, that's great the way it is. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. It's got it sounds less like, the other, it sounds less Toto-ish.
Yeah.
Right. Which is to be expected. Right.
Yeah.
But, really great, great halftime kind of shuffle feel.
Yeah.
Tons of forward momentum, cool keyboard parts, and
they always pack the songs with so much ear candy.
Oh yeah. It's I've kind of always I feel with this album and with Toto albums too, it's just best to listen to them on headphones, so you could just try to get everything.
Yeah.
Right. And even after years of listening to this, and I'm sure with this one too, like 2 years from now, I'm going to put it back. Well, I'm going to listen to it more than just 2 years apart. But 2 years from now, when I listen to it, I'll be like, wait, I didn't hear that before.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's going to happen.
Yeah. Those are hidden treasures.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Next up, I guess you could call it the quasi-title track, Burning Bridges. This one written by Luke, Stan Lynch, David Pace, Joseph Williams. And, this is full Toto personnel on here. This one, and maybe it's because it's a faster shuffle. I don't know about you, Jim, but I got a little Steely Dan vibe off of this one, which there's tons of Toto connections there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
And Steve's always said how they were such a big influence and how, he got to hear, because Jeff Beccaro was playing on Steely Dan records while Steve was still in high school. So it's kind of in the DNA, the songwriting stuff. That's the vibe I got from this. It's good.
Yeah. Wow. It's funny. I got kind of the vibe I got was Don't Chain My Heart.
That too, that too, and also a little bit of the song from what's it, 21st Century Blues from Toto.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but yeah, Don't Chain My Heart. It's
Yes.
got that kind of beat, but the
Yeah.
and Joseph actually sings on the bridge on this one, so this is
Yeah.
it's very, very, very much in the Toto wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean it's such a solid tune, you know,
Yeah,
gotta love that 12/8 kind of thing. And on the bridge, I noticed Simon changed up his ride pattern, right? So instead
yeah,
of just doing his triplets, he's playing every other triplet on the bell,
yeah.
which gives it like, you know, you're not taking away from anything, but it gives like you mentioned ear candy, right? It gives you something
It's different.
a little different to listen to, which
Yeah,
is so great, man. God,
and
Simon is amazing. He's
they
amazing.
were always so good, like collectively, and any musician that's ever passed through Toto is always
Oh yeah.
good at knowing when to play, when not to play, but so that
Yes.
even people listening to one of their songs, they might not consciously catch that change, but you
Right.
feel it and it keeps you listening, even if you're not aware
Yes.
of it. You
Right.
know,
Very
it's like
true.
there's countless examples where, the drum beat is not the same at the end of a song as it was at the beginning. It was similar. Um,
Yeah.
and again, I'm referring to Rush again because we're such big Rush fans too. Neil Peart would say, what does the listener need to know? So he
Yeah.
starts a drum pattern. He might start it quite simply and keeps adding to it. So you've got
Right.
that firmly established, but then he changes it around. And
Yes.
I think that if you were to ask Shannon Forrest, he'd probably list, Jeff Porcaro, Simon Phillips, and Neil
Oh
as
yeah.
influences. So it
Yeah.
makes sense that it comes out in the playing. And
Oh
whether
yeah.
whether it's a conscious thing or not, and half the time I don't even think it is a conscious thing. It just feels right when they're playing. It's like, I don't want to do the same thing again, but I don't want to do something completely different. How can I
Right.
change it up a little bit? And by leaving every other one of those ride cymbal
Yeah.
notes out, you've changed it up
Yep.
again. It
Yep.
does something different. Yeah.
It does. Yeah, it's perfect.
Which leads us to the
Cool.
closing track, I'll Never
We'll
Know.
never
I think
know.
just like Far From Over was a great opener, I think this is a great closer.
Oh yeah. It is. It is. It's so great. You know, when it starts out, there's this very soft bass drum. Do, 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 do. It kind of almost sounds like a heartbeat
Yeah.
to me, and then it gets louder and becomes part of the groove, right? Which is perfect. How it just kind of went into that, and the Shannon's playing drums on this, and he's doing things a little bit different, than your typical, playing on the hi-hat and snare stuff. He's using the rims of the toms and things like that, which is
Yeah.
great. Just a fantastic ballad overall. We didn't
Yeah.
mention it before, but as Luke and Joseph
Yeah.
wrote it, and you've got, such the Toto personnel. I guess except Jorgen Carlson, I don't think he's
Yeah.
been part of the band ever.
No, but I mean, if you spend any amount of time, being around Steve, it's just it's gonna rub off on you, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm not sure of the lineage there, but no, not that it matters. It's just a
It's
great,
interesting though.
great close to an album. And like I said, 8
Yeah.
tracks, and it doesn't feel overly long, but doesn't feel short
No.
either. It doesn't feel like, what is this, an EP?
No.
It feels full length, and
Yeah.
they're generously long songs without
I mean,
feeling long. I think there's a good variety of tempos on here.
oh yeah. And back in the day, 8 songs was a
Was an
perfect
album.
record length. That was a record. Yeah, right there.
I mean,
Yeah.
Hydra has 8 songs on it, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Turn Back only has 8 songs on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it wasn't unheard of. And I think that for people, you can't judge an album by its length because, some of our favorite albums are maybe 37, 38 minutes long, but
Mhm.
you want to keep coming back to them as opposed to, when the CD age really came in the late 80s, bands started putting
Right.
14, 15 songs on an album. it doesn't matter how good the songs are. You just get fatigued by the end of it. You're
Yeah.
just like, is this done already?
Yeah.
I
Right.
want to go listen to something else.
Yeah.
And but I think people have gotten back to the idea of let's just give them a really good solid, I don't know what the length of this album is, but give them a good 40 minutes, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I could. Well, no, I can't look it up. Never mind. But one thing I loved about this is the fade though. So Luke is playing a solo during the fade out. And
Yes.
whenever any artist does that, it makes me want more. So
Yeah.
he's playing the solo, which is fantastic. His playing is always fantastic, right? But it's like, wait, I don't want that to end. I want more of it.
Yeah. I want to hear what was actually played before they started fading it out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's a really melodic like ballad, like we've talked about before, like Two Hearts, I'll Be Over You.
Yeah.
Like he's just soloing, and you'd like to
Yeah.
hear more. Even Rosanna. And by the way,
Yeah.
the fact that whole end vamp in Rosanna was not planned, that just boggles my mind.
Oh yeah,
Because
that's
one
incredible.
of the best solos ever. That end solo. To think that wasn't even in the plan. He's even said that. I recommend everybody check out the Sunset Sounds studio channel on YouTube and go to the Steve Lukather interview. It is so entertaining. But that song was originally going to end like da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then
they were like,
and that's fortunately they kept recording. They didn't. Okay, they're done. Stop the tape and lose all of that. But yeah, no. I think that this is a Toto album that's just missing some form of Toto logo and maybe a sword on it or something.
Yeah,
it fits right in
so
with
great.
the class. It's just a really awesome, well recorded modern version of what a Toto album would sound like. So that's one of the first things I noticed. To be honest with you, I'm not all that familiar with any other of Steve's solo albums. I know he's got quite a few. I think his first one came out in '89.
Oh wow!
But maybe now I may have to go back and check out. I know he's got one. He's got one called Candyman. He's got one called Ever Changing Times. But yeah, it's perfectly. You could do a mix of Toto songs, throw anything, just about anything from this album in, and you wouldn't go, well, that's different. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
Wouldn't say, well, that's a left turn.
Yeah. Where did this come from?
Yeah, he's going to write and play and sing what comes natural to him, and what comes natural to him is make an album that sounds like a really good Toto album.
Yeah, and it is. This is, at the end of it, I just kind of went, wow, that is an awesome album.
Yeah, it goes down easy, smooth, and you just want to listen to it again. And so hopefully a lot of Toto fans, will pick up on it like we did and think, okay, well, if there's not going to be another Toto album, he's saying this is going to be the next best thing. I don't think it's the next best thing. I think it is the thing. I just think great. There's legal reasons that it can't be under the Toto name, but maybe somebody out there can get adventurous and rejig this album cover and Toto logo on it. So there you go. That's our review of the latest Steve Lukather album. It's called Bridges. It's out now. It's on the Players Club label, which that's also the label that put out the With a Little Help from My Friends live album, which is also fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So there you go. So Jim, thank you very, very much for sitting in with me yet again. And,
thank you, Tim.
So we it's been a while since we've done a Rush fans panel.
It has.
I'm feeling withdrawals. I got to get back into it.
Yes.
But that's how Jim and I came to know each other. And you'll also see Jim on our recent second Yacht Rock video. Jim plays the Yacht Rock cover band called Sugar. Go and see him if you're in the area. Maybe someday we'll get to see him in person. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, here's the other thing. Just you could almost slip a couple songs from this into a Yacht Rock set. Nobody would be like, "What's that?" They might not know it, but but you could almost do a thing where you go, you slip that in, and they go, "Well, I feel like I should know this, but I can't quite place it."
Yeah.
So there you go. So Jim, thanks a lot, and
thank you, Tim.
everybody. If you love classic melodic rock, if you're If you're a Toto
Oh,
fan,
yeah.
this album will not disappoint. So there you go.
Yeah,
Thanks for
for sure.
watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions.